right now. I have Builder Adilaja Adekombi, the General Secretary, Nigeria Institute of Building. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Frank.
And now, first, let me start from the budget. About 1.4 trillion naira has been earmarked for the infrastructure in the 2022 budget. How do you make that? How does that make you feel, especially part of that going into the sector or trickling down to the value chain?
Yeah, good morning once again. I'm happy, I'm glad to be here. My name is Builder Adilaja Adekombi, as you have rightly said. Construction industry is a big industry, like we all know, and that's one of the best way any nation can develop or grow. But we know that here to come, the industry is going to be boom, and that's what we rely on. But when it comes to the impact of the budget in the nation, is how go to direction is worrisome in some areas, and it's also a good news in some areas.
You think it's not enough?
It is enough.
Because after defense is the second largest sector that is getting the large chunk of the budget, 8.5% of the total figure.
We have to be honest with ourselves. If that could be a reality, that's what all of us want. But the way we have a fear is that we're still not getting it right. When we put such advantage into any nation, and then we don't believe in our professionals. We tend to give those contracts out to those who take the money out of the nation. So how the impacts become difficult for those who are practicing here. I guess that the way out, we should encourage our professionals. If our professionals, if you see where the nation is going, when we have that kind of laudable budget, you will find out that most of the construction is being carried out by their own professionals. Even if we decide to bring the expert, we attach them so that the money stay in the nation. But the system that we operate here, we have a laudable budget. What is the impact of the budget? What is the impact in the people and the professionals?
Is that a challenge at the moment that the association or the institute face, talking about not being able to have access to the budget, or perhaps have access to the goodies that trickle down from the budget earmarked for the sector?
Yes, it's a big challenge. It's not for Nigerian Institute of Building. It's a general challenge for the construction industry in Nigeria. We've not been having the professionals who are being trained to do this job are not having access to this job. And all we do, we bring somebody who is not even qualified from outside, who's a technician.
I know we're going to go into that again in a moment. I know today is a World Standard Day, and that has to do with professionalism and all of that in the building sector. We'll go into all of that in a moment. But let's talk more about this. Since you've raised it, and it looks like it's a big challenge facing the sector now, do we have a body of the association that is engaging with the government, perhaps with the policymakers, who can say, look, you don't have to bring in expatriate. Even if you're bringing this expatriate, you also need to consider the homegrown professionals who are here. Do we have that at the moment going?
Yes, all what we are talking about and also agitating for, we have it. Nigeria is a very good country when it comes to putting policy on ground, but implementation of policy is the problem. We have something, I think it's under the Presidential Order 5 or something. There is a local content law that says that if you take up a project, a total percentage of your workers must be the indigenous people. So bringing an expatriate from outside to work, they will have a lead to local content law say the 80% of your workforce has to be in Nigeria, not bringing an expatriate from outside. That what can expatriate do that Nigerians cannot do?
I'm not aware if that applies to construction sector, but I am aware that it applies to the non-oil sector, like the extractive. The extractive
the same thing
industry.
happened to construction industry. I've even had it when the Senate were trying to argue about it in the House, that we should wait to encourage our indigenous contractor. So we think that there is a law, there's a policy on ground, that if the policy is followed. But you see, we don't want to talk much about our own attitude and what we tend to do by giving the outsider the if you look at what happened, let me just cite Singapore and some other country that sends their expert, the citizen outside to go and learn trade, learn construction. Some went to US, some went. The things were learned, they call it brain transfer. And they come back home after 1 or 2 years. And those are the people that are doing the construction work in their country. Nobody. They don't allow anybody. Because if we don't do that, this even giving devaluing Naira. Because plenty Naira will be chasing small dollar, because the dollar that's supposed to stay here have been taken out by the
What are some of the policies or some of the programs would you want to see, for instance, in the sector, your association, your institute, and then other association in the construction industry? For instance, you are looking at the fact that the industry, it's not all the homegrown professionals are not enjoying the benefit of the contract or much of the project that comes from the government. So let's look at how some of these things apply.
So first of all, what we have in front of the Senate now, and that is what we need to work. The Senate need to work on. Nigerians, as big as Nigeria, we don't have a code. We don't have construction code. We don't have code of practice for whatever they are doing. We are doing in the industry, and this is why you see everybody tend to be a contractor. Everybody tend to do another man's job, and it's not happening in other sectors. You can't just jump into court and say you are a lawyer, or you jump into an hospital and say you are a doctor. So we are clamoring for national code, national building code, which encompass all the professionals in the industry. Everybody have their roles. Let everybody play out. If it is mandatory that I am a builder, that I should be in charge of construction process, I don't think, if you are bringing any expatriate, the expatriate have to look for me, because the law did not empower him to do that in Nigeria. He has to look for me. So let's make this national building code come alive. It was during the Obasanjo regime in 2006.
How long have you been? How long have you been on these pushing on this request and advocacy?
Obasanjo came up with the first reading. In 26.
And it has not been passed before now.
It has not been passed
up until now.
Up until now. So we've been working a lot of site work. We have some professionals.
But how much of engagement are you doing with the government?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of sanitization, radio, TV. We're moving around, going to assembly, raising some memo to
this is one of the challenges.
Yes.
One of the challenges.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at, today is World Standard Day, as we all know. What exactly are you looking at for today in this event, especially to commemorate this day?
Yes, if we're celebrating a standard, first of all, let me tell you that don't let anybody deceive you. That is standard. But for human being to follow standard, sometimes you want to invade standard. Standard is standard. Standard is there. But sometimes you want to agree that there is no standard in Nigeria. But there's nothing, you can't put anything on nothing. Because without standard, what you get is not a good result. So since we are celebrating standard today, and that brought me from where I hand my national building code, which I believe is also a standard we're trying to put on ground for us to be able to work. And let's see who is going to work. But when it comes to standard here, we're still fighting seriously in Nigeria. I'm going to give you one scenario that pertains to my own work. If you go to the industry now, you see you want to buy a steel, a rod for construction. So what you see on this on the market is not what you expect. And you must be an expert. You must be somebody who is used to the system
to identify
that particular right one to use. And the damage this thing caused, some landlord or some landlord just went to the market and buy. And you know, there's something called steel rod. So if it is not a good reinforcement, it's not a standard one, so what you find out when there is a deflection, it tends to break. So where the original don't break, it just bend and then come back to its position. So we are still contending with that, and standard organizations have work to do. They can't.
Because I was going to ask you that, what exactly is the standard of organization of Nigeria doing if you have that situation in the market or in the sector at the moment and nothing is done about it? So how are you engaging, especially not to affect your own sector? How are you engaging the standard organization of Nigeria in this fight against substandard products in the market?
All right. They are trying. The organization is trying, but there's too much to control. There's too much items. They are fighting for many items, and they are the one in charge of food, in charge of what comes in from abroad. So they have so much to contend with.
Are you suggesting that perhaps because they have a lot to handle, should this be taken off from them, or how do you think this can be harnessed or reconciled?
It's a two-way thing, and they can take it off from them, and they can also break them into a segment. This is, you go like this, you have a director of go to the other part. You be on the food, beverages, you go on building materials, you go on. So they can do a segment positioning. But for those who are very good in the industry, for people like us, we don't, because we have those flux in the market and we go for it. There's a way out. We do on our own. So we have a lab in Unilag. We also have a material testing very close to you here. So when we get some part of those steel, we take it to the lab and confirm before we use. And that's what ordinary man will not do. He will just go and buy, most especially when the money is lower.
Because I was going to ask you, how do you identify for someone who cannot even pay for your service? Because it requires money, it requires cost to hire a professional builder who can go to the market and manage this project for you.
That's why I disagree. That's why we always have a conflict. That's why I totally disagree with that. That's the notion of everybody. Oh, professional is very expensive. That's not the notion. We have friends, family that we are doing things for, some free. Just for able to show that this is what we do, want to do free. We do pro bono for some friends too. Now, okay, what did you have? Don't bother yourself about what you want to pay. What did you have? Don't give it to this man and start regretting.
Where is the role of private developers in all of this?
Yes, let me get it clear to you. A private developer is a businessman who is investing into the business. What the aim and objective of a developer is to make money at the end of the day. So for him to be able to ensure standard, he needs to bring in a professional into his kitty. As he's doing this business, he has to bring in a professional so that he will not be looking at the gain alone. He also be looking at the security and look at life that involved. You know, one house come down, millions will die. So he has to put that. But generally, a private developer is a businessman who is thinking about how to invest on money and get return on investment. That's it.
So who is regulating a private developer? Whose agency? Who is the agency that is regulating? Whose agency of the government regulates that?
Yeah,
I want us to know.
I'm going to be using Lagos State and Abuja as a case study for today, which I believe the other states are still struggling to come up. But Lagos State is a well-regulated state when it comes to regulation in construction. And the ministry in charge is physical planning, urban and regional planning, and yes. Lagos Building Control Agency. So those are the people who are really doing the control. But in Abuja, it's very effective in Nigeria. In Abuja, they don't even, you don't get close to your site.
What is the assessment of the level of their job in terms of control and monitoring, the mechanism put in place to monitor these private developers not to default in their, in their job?
In the past, we have issues of how can they, the number of staff that can just take over the whole Lagos to be able to monitor the construction. Lagos is one of the fastest countries where construction is going on. They are in every corner. As we're talking here.
Now, just before, because of our time now, let's talk more, just a little bit before, I mean, in 1 minute, we'll just have to talk about this, because that's what you have. Can you tell us where the money is in 2021 or 2022? Because the last quarter of the 2021 is wrapping up in few weeks now. So where is the money? Look at the money put in the infrastructure sector in Nigeria, 1.45 trillion naira. That's huge. So where do you think the money is in 2022?
That's, of course, no other where than construction industry. It's the industry. That infrastructure is the key of every nation. If you look at what is going on abroad in the US now, it's infrastructure bill every day. You see them flashing it. That's what they are, because that is one of the way to develop any nation. So infrastructure, construction industry is what we are expecting to boom in the year coming 2022. But
how about housing?
Yes, it's a part of the infrastructure. It's encompassed. Housing, you know, we have housing deficiency too much. We don't even have a standard when we go to housing.
Well, I think we need to leave it there. We have a lot to talk about on this subject. Builder Adelaja Adekombi, it's a General Secretary, Nigeria Institute of Building. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.